Welcome to the Three Intrapreneur podcast, where three intrapreneurs get together on a Friday night after work and talk to a camera. Remember, we don't get paid to do this. We have no sponsored ads on the show. So please like and share the show with your family and your friends. If you found it valuable, if you found it funny, if you gained something, if you learned something, please share it with your loved ones and we would appreciate it. So this week, we are talking about the pains and gains of starting your own real estate business within a real estate business, I guess, in a way.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm. Who wants to go first? Who wants to?
Should we crack open the can before we?
Oh God! Almost forgot. Our signature. Our
signature juice.
Help me out with this mic.
Thank you. I love this branding.
What do we have today?
Turtle juice.
Gunner tropical
juice.
Lemonade.
Gunner tropical lemonade.
Gunner.
What is this?
Should we?
Is it alcoholic?
I don't know. Oh. I love that sound.
You all right?
Yeah, it's fine.
I just love that sound, don't you?
It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Good
Cheers.
Week.
It's not really
episode 2.
Clink.
Let's have a little try. Oof. Very
Sweet.
tropically. Benji.
Sorry. The sound engineer's looking at me. I think I'm in her earphones.
Because you're
Sorry,
slurping
Karima.
it. Right.
I'm not sure that's
all right. It's okay.
It's okay.
Do you know what?
Maybe we should start rating these out of 10.
Yeah. Imagine this becomes like a drink show.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it's not.
And if you, I know we don't do sponsored ad, but maybe we should. We could start rating drinks.
Turtle juice.
So pains and gains of a startup.
Who wants to go first? Okay, so the thing is, let me just explain. So basically, obviously, we're all running our own businesses within DDRE Global, okay? And we're at different stages of that process. So Oliver, when did you join us?
I joined, first couple of days of November, so I'm four months in.
February. Yeah.
4 months in.
4 months in
Yeah.
now. 3-4 months. And you're 1 year in?
1 year in.
Yeah, your anniversary was very recent, wasn't it?
Feb 13th.
Did Daniel take you out?
No, I went out with my fiance because it was Valentine's Day.
Okay.
It would have been a bit weird if Daniel took me out. But no, he said, congratulations, thanks for your hard work. And that was it.
Good. And I am approaching my 3-year anniversary. I think it's next week on the 7th or 8th of March.
3 years.
So, we're all at different stages of that process. Oliver.
Yes.
Seeing as you're the... why do we always go for gassy drinks, by the way?
I don't know. I was actually just thinking about that.
Yeah. God, here we go again. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
let's do it. How have I found it? There's a vast amount of emotions I think we all go through. I think one of the biggest emotions I went through was actually prior to probably starting. I think we spoke in the last podcast about, we were at corporate companies before, earning a good salary, a certain amount of food always on the table, a certain amount of listings, a certain amount of business that was always going to come to us.
Sorry.
Have we started already doing it?
I just couldn't find a way to drink my drink.
So the people that are listening and not watching this, Alex is just...
you have to watch it on YouTube. It's much better.
Yeah, he's just drops his drink all over his trousers. But anyway. So before I started, this was probably when the hardest emotion for me. And it was probably the emotion of fear, I'd say. Like I discussed in the previous podcast, obviously I have a little boy, just over 2 years old. And I had many sleepless nights of fear of I wouldn't be able to provide for my little boy and my family. You go self-employed, you cut off all income streams straight away. There's not a pipeline that we were all used to having. So you're diving into the deep of the uncertainty and the unknown. And I had many sleepless nights of, oh my God, is this the right thing to do? And he was he was such a, I always would look at him and go, God, if I ever failed him, God, I would feel that's the worst emotion. Yeah, I think if you think about that to anyone, you always think about your parents. If you failed your parents, or if they, that's the worst feeling you could ever have. But that caused many sleepless nights.
And so what, you're just lying there in bed, with your mind ticking over, thinking
every night,
what if my next deal doesn't happen?
Every night.
Yeah.
And that was a really hard process. That was a really hard time for me. And as much as you rely on your ability. I know what I can do, and I know what I can make from this. And already, I mean, I think within like the 10th day, I did my first deal here.
Yeah.
And I think actually
that was a record.
Was that a record? I think getting them, that was probably a bit of a monkey on your back, which you have to get off quickly. You know, it's that first deal, isn't it? You know, or getting that first property under offer. So that helped me a lot. And that probably was lucky, not lucky, but that came 10 days rather than maybe 10 months sometimes into the business.
Yeah. That is quite amazing to do a deal.
Yeah, especially so sales, right? Because usually it'd take ages to get a listing. And it could take 6 months to get it under offer.
Yes.
So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was a great one. We exchanged within 8 working days. So
amazing.
It was a super good deal.
So you did your first deal in 8 days, not 10.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it was the 10th day that I actually agreed it. I think it was the 10th day of starting that I agreed it, and then 8 days later, so I was 2 or 3 weeks in.
The sales process basically making an offer first.
What I'll do, Benji, I'll do some training after this.
Yes.
Great.
Afterwards.
Or you should use my discount code for the DDA Academy.
Yeah.
Anyway, you touched last time upon your son being your why.
Yes.
But would you say he's the reason that you made the jump from being an employed agent to a self-employed agent?
It wasn't it was part of the reason. I think ultimately, I think as we touched on before, the model that we are creating here and the way that we believe agency is going and the broker model and how we treat our clients, the service that we give, you cannot give in a corporate agency. And I don't care if someone will write on this now and say, you're wrong, Ollie, you're wrong. You can't, because you have not got enough time. You're dealing with 50, 60 vendors at once, 100, 200 buyers on your applicant list that you used to have. You cannot curate, you cannot service them all. Whereas here, we bespoke marketing. Benji, you're just taking on a superb listing, haven't you, on Marylebone? And tell the guys what you're doing with.
Well, investing a lot of money into it, because it means a lot to us. Investing a lot of time, an awful lot of time, as I touched on in the last podcast. Went to visit the client 5 or 6 times before we, got the final agreement to say, here's the keys, crack on. Now the real work has started. We've got all the team in to have agent intros to show them the property.
What's an agent intro though?
So an agent intro, when we take on a new listing, we'll get all the DDRE advisors into the property. They'll have a 10, 15 second piece of content of themselves, briefly explaining what the home is, which will then shortly follow with, a piece of pillar content, which is the main content of the apartment or home or house, whatever it is, that will then seamlessly flow from that person doing the introduction to the property. So we do that with all of our properties, because when I post it on my socials, my followers want to see me. When you post it on yours, your followers want to see you, and so on. So we've done that very early on. We've had photos, floor plans done. We've got a meeting on Monday morning to go through, the bespoke plan of how we're going to drip feed it to the market. We've got orchestras, musicians with their classical musical instruments going in to film, I think probably one of London's first, very different videos. Yeah. So we need to think of these things outside of the box. And if I had, like I did in my previous business, 50, 60 listings at any one time, you can't do that.
No, it's impossible
for all of those clients. Whereas now we can be very selective. We can turn down business if we see fit, and we can be very selective with who we want to work with. Work with like-minded people, and then we can give 110%, go above and beyond, do more than anyone else. And that's really, as you were saying, the time element that we have for our clients.
How did you find that client? Or how did that client find you?
It's a great story on LinkedIn. I know the son. We used to be friends, drifted. He got back in touch, wanted to help me out because he knew that I started a new business, wanted me to grow, connected me with his father, and, we'll have a nice celebration once we sell the property for sure.
Nice.
But yeah, came from LinkedIn. Yeah.
You went to school with the person, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then he knew his dad was selling, and
yeah,
you basically kept in touch with him, even though you didn't speak directly.
Yeah, I mean,
you basically kept in touch over LinkedIn, didn't you? Essentially, in a way, indirectly.
Indirectly, and it's interesting you say that, because there weren't many direct touch points, but we followed each other on social channels. Exactly. Me posting was me touch, and that's the power of social media. He knew what I was up to. He knew that I left my previous business and started at DDRE. He knows that I'm dealing with, prime, super prime, exclusive homes, which fits in with what he has. So we're speaking to people on a daily basis without people knowing. and getting our message across without speaking to them directly. You know, that's crazy
and
to
it's
think.
funny because with a LinkedIn post, I've got almost, I think, 10,000 followers now on LinkedIn. I can speak to essentially 10,000 people in one go. And if someone likes... For free.
Yeah.
And if one of my followers likes that, their followers will see it on their LinkedIn timeline too.
It's a snowball effect.
It's a snowball effect. Whereas in my previous businesses, when I was employed in a corporate, or even the small companies, you know, from 9 to 11 or 9 to 12, that was your call out period. You had to call your applicants or your buyers or your landlords. Whereas, and that, you know, one phone call can take you 3 minutes, for instance, just to speak to one person. Whereas you can do a 5-minute LinkedIn post. Today I did this, or you're speaking to 10,000 people in one go.
Yeah.
And so essentially that's the same as making that many phone calls.
Yeah.
You kept in touch with that person without even knowing it.
I always hated that desk time.
Yeah.
You had to be. The reason I hated it is because where I was working in St John's Wood, 15 agents on the high street, and they're all doing the same thing: 9 till 10, 9 to 11, calling buyers. The same buyer is receiving probably the same phone call from so many different people, and you're leaving voicemails. Then they've got the same phone call 14, 15 times. Hi, it's Joe from Joe Residential. Are you still looking to buy? Can I help you with a search? Hangs up, and they get a call from another person. I used to hate that.
If there is a Joe Residential out there, we weren't actually talking about you. That was just an example.
Always a shout out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he paid me for the free airtime.
Suddenly Joe Residential skyrockets.
But it's a super thing to say. You said, Benji, because the other night, about 7 o'clock, I sat down, put my little boy to bed, and I got back on the laptop and probably phoned 15, 20 people. All of them picked up. Had good conversations for about an hour and a half, 2 hours with these people.
Interesting.
If I had called them at 9:15, 9:30, they wouldn't have picked up.
And weekend
They
calls
wouldn't
as
have
well.
picked up.
Weekend calls are like that as well.
Exactly.
Your response rate from a weekend call, much better than during the week. They're not working.
Yes.
No one else is calling them.
Exactly. And we deal with, you know, the demographic of our clients and purchasers they're global, and they've got time differences. So times that we're calling doesn't suit them. So you have to tailor call outs, tailor who you're going to speak to at the right time, and look at where they are in the world, and that's how you get the best success rate.
But
challenging.
You know, we're talking about the pains and gains of you know, being self-employed, having your own business.
Yes.
The 9 to 5, they're not our hours.
No,
our hours are probably 5 to 9. You know, we work all hours of the day. You know, tomorrow, Saturday, viewings, Sunday viewings, and that has you know, it has a toll.
Yes.
You know, we're working sometimes 6-7 day weeks, always on our phones, and whilst that's what we want to do and we choose to do it and we love and enjoy it, there are the pains that come with that. You know, where we might be sat at home. You know, you've just put your son to bed. You know, your missus might want to sit with you on the sofa and catch up. But I
wish. Quite sorry. I hope you didn't hear that.
but you've got calls that you still need to make.
Yes,
you've got emails that you need to get out. You know, on a Friday night when all your mates might be out on the piss, going to the pub and doing X, Y, and Z. You know, that's some of the downside of what we do, because we're on it 24/7. We have to be. Our clients want us to be and need us to be.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest pain since making that jump from being an employed agent to starting your own business?
In one phone call, I lost £60,000.
Wow. Shit.
And then what happened? What happened?
Run us through that conversation.
And
the thoughts in your head of the emotions.
I was just about to say I cried. I didn't cry. I was very close to.
Did.
I was.
There was a tear.
Yeah. So I had agreed a sale without giving addresses or anything away. I had agreed a sale at £7.5 million. And we were just about to instruct lawyers. Funds were ready. We're going to exchange in 2 weeks' time. And the owner called and said, "I need £1 million more than my asking price that you've already got me."
Wow.
And he said, "Unless you get me £1 million, the deal's off." And I shat myself. You know, I'd got my calculator out, which is the worst thing to do. Worked out what my commission was.
Really? Was that the first thing that you did? Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of agents do that subconsciously, maybe.
Well, as in you would have got more. You worked out that you would have earned more.
No. As in I worked out at the 7.5 million what I would have made.
Fine.
Yeah. And in that phone call, not all I was thinking about, I was thinking, oh my God.
Yeah.
How am I going to deliver the news to the buyer? What am I going to do? And in truth, my mindset, and it was going back to what you said before, we were talking outside, the previous business that I used to work at, I was doing 25, 30 deals a year, doing 30, 40 viewings a week. Here, I'll do 5 or 6 deals a year, and I'll do 10 viewings per week, for example, significantly less. And my idea of busy has changed massively. The small, finer details are really, really important. So my mindset was, okay, well, that sucks. On to the next one, which was probably the worst thing that I thought in my head. And that's just the truth of what my reaction was, apart from thinking about the finances. Spoke with Daniel, and he said, what, so you're just going to leave it? You're just going to throw £60,000 away?
I remember that.
Or you're going to fight for it? What are you going to do? Ball's in your court.
Yeah.
So I went away as a true intrapreneur would, and got comparable evidence to showcase why £8.5 million was still in line with the market. Arranged for a conference call with my buyer who was in Singapore. Very late call, obviously with the time differences. And he trusted me. And I said, listen, there's a development across the road that when that's developed and finished in 2 or 3 years' time, your apartment will go from 8.5 to 10.5, just because of the price precedent that they're going to set opposite. He said, Benji, I trust you. It's my first venture into London. I want one go-to guy. I'm going to look for a second one. Anything over 8.5, owner's taking the mickey, but let's go with it. Went back to the drawing board, got it re-agreed at 8.5, and 2 weeks later we exchanged.
Amazing.
But yeah, in that phone call, and that's the ups and downs that you can have.
The roller coaster of emotions.
In some cases, it might not have turned out or transpired how it did, and I might have lost £60,000. Not technically because it wasn't in my pocket, but the idea of it. But that's whether it's real estate. I've got some friends that are in new businesses that are nothing to do with real estate that have also set up recently, and they've had potential contracts there ready to be signed where they can work out how much money they're going to get, and the person walks away. It's not just real estate that people have this struggle where you're that close and then it just vanishes.
It's a really great story.
You stuck at it and got over the line in the end.
and that's the thing.
And now he's looking to rent out the apartment, isn't he?
He's looking to rent out the apartment, which he's given to us as the sole mandate, which we're working on together as a co-listing. But it's interesting because, as I said, when I was at my previous business, in truth, I'm not sure how much I would have fought for it. And I'm not sure how much agents in big corporates would fight for things because they're comfortable in a big corporate. You perhaps don't get paid as much as you should, and therefore the hunger and the desire and the drive to do it isn't there. But when you're sat in this seat, you have to do it. Because as you said, you're thinking, my boy at home, I need to provide for him. I've got a mortgage, I've got fixed outgoings, I need to sell. But yeah, look, that was an interesting roller coaster of emotions, but we got there. And
story. Okay, now.
We got through it. We got through it. And
that's cool.
What have you experienced? Have you experienced any?
You've had 3 years, Alex.
So it's 3 years of a lot of pain.
Years.
You must have.
I like a bit of pain.
No pain.
I
no
asked
gain.
for it. Yeah, exactly.
But you must have had some really. There must be dark moments throughout that 3 years where you've kind of sat down on your own, because I think we all agree here, Alex is. He brings everyone's spirits up, doesn't he? When he walks into the room, Alex is the joy of mate, 100%. You are, as soon as you walk in the room, there's a smile on everyone's face, and you bring that
big in spirit.
Yeah.
He makes up for it.
It's great, and I really admire it. I think honestly, there's only a few
Workplace
people.
Bullying. See. This is what I was talking about.
That's the problem. No HR in these businesses. Can't complain to anyone because you're complaining to yourself.
This is this is one of the pains I have of running my own business.
Send it to
HR.
Send it to my HR team. They'll deal with it in 14 days. But you are out, and you're always very positive, which I admire about you. But you must have had some times throughout that 3 years where behind closed doors, when it's maybe just been you've been like, Christ, this is difficult, or some real struggles.
God, but tell me. There is a list, but the good does outweigh the bad. But when I when I got made redundant, it was different to you guys. You both made that decision and choice, and you timed it, and you were ready, and you had savings to make that jump from your employed roles into where you are now. And you spoke to Daniel, and he gave you advice probably before you did that. I got made redundant from a company that shut down 3 months into my role. So I left the biggest real estate company in the world, an American firm that's listed on the stock exchange, to go and become head of lettings somewhere else in Chelsea. And 3 months in, after I even recruited one of my ex-colleagues as well, it was his second day in the job. And he trusted me and relied on me. And our CEO came in, who I couldn't get hold of for a few days. It was scary. Our portal, I think Zoopla, or Rightmove, one or the other anyway, had gone down. Couldn't get hold of the CEO. And why is that funny? This is some serious shit. This is scary. Yeah. And he just walked in. He was like, "Are you in the office? I'm going to come in and speak to you guys." I was like, "Oh my God, this is not good." I had a bad feeling. And the days leading to that as well, my ex-colleague who dealt with payments and things, she said that the card wasn't working, the company card. So yeah, it was obvious they ran out of money. So unfortunately they brought me in too late, couldn't save it in 3 months. But anyway, we were asked to leave. I cried. That was embarrassing in front of all of my colleagues at the time. And
so literally just asked to guys, that's it. Today you got to go. That's it. Go now.
He walked in and was literally like, "Guys, our investors have pulled out." I don't believe a word, Yeah. Maybe we'll cut that because I don't want to badmouth people.
No, you're not.
But I don't know if that's the entirely true
fine.
What he told us.
Yeah.
But he told us his spiel and the reasoning for shutting down. Who knows if that's the truth or not? But anyway, they shut down. They ran out of money, and I think now they're trying to set back up in London. But anyway, what happened after that was I was very scared. I was in a lot of debt with my American Express card. Like 5 figures worth of debt, and
I was doing that in my head. I was like, "Is that 5,000 a no?" That's supposed to be.
I think everyone does. Does everyone do that? I hope so.
Okay.
Anyway, so Anyway,
You got some good air miles though.
I do. Yeah, you need to use
so
those.
I took myself off when I went to Barbados. I didn't
Yeah.
stay anywhere. I just stayed at the airport and flew back again. Sorry. This is a touching moment.
You try talking and getting emotional. A tear was coming, and they're just laughing at me.
Anyway,
Good support group, guys.
Just bring it back.
Good
down.
support group. Gosh, yeah. It's not like it affected my mental health or anything.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Right, let's bring the song back.
Anyway, anyway, so got made redundant. I, out of being scared, I interviewed. Right, that's it. I'm done. I am done. I am not telling you the story anymore.
Crew, they're putting us on. You laughing.
Sorry.
That's it. No, I'm done.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not telling you a story.
No. This is
No.
because I'm.
You don't want to know.
I am really. I really want to hear this because I think there's probably a lot of people
Fine,
that have gone through this or going through this.
but if you laugh,
We're on one warning each.
One warning each. Okay.
okay. So, I was very emotional. I cried in front of my ex-colleagues, and I was very scared. And I started interviewing with people, and they were like, why? I knew how good I was at that time. I was a bit cocky. I was much younger. Well, 3 and a bit years ago. Not that much younger, but I was younger than I am now. I feel like I've grown a lot in the past 3-4 years. So anyway, I was interviewing with companies who you'd know about, but I'm not going to say who. And they're like, why do you want to work for us? What can you bring to the table? And I was like, motherfucker, what can you bring to the table for me? Like in my head, I didn't say that obviously. I was like, I can do this, and this. But I was thinking like, I'm better than this. I feel like I'm going backwards. So I started speaking to people, and I signed up to a brokerage at the time because obviously I couldn't afford Zoopla and Rightmove. They're thousands of pounds per annum. So I spoke to a brokerage where you pay a monthly desk fee, much like here, but on a smaller scale in a way. And then that gave me access to Zoopla and Rightmove, the platforms I needed to be able to market properties for my clients or prospective future clients. Anyway, I called my phone book and I just said, I've started my own company. Can you help me? Do you know of anyone that wants to rent? I didn't even say, do you have any properties? I said, do you know anybody that might need help renting or selling their property? I called all of my friends, then my family, then people I'd done business with before, ex-colleagues. I let everybody know, everybody I could possibly let know. Mm-hmm. Then I went to social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I did a video. I've taken it down now. It's really bad. It was like the first video I ever did, which was in the office in Victoria, telling everybody what I was doing. Anyway, that got a few likes and shares, and I got 7 instructions in my first week.
Wow.
Lettings properties.
Great.
Let 2 of them. Yeah, and I also did a short-term rental deal. Out of pure fluke, I call it luck or God or higher power. I don't know what you want to call it. Yeah. But I got a call from a certain royal family member. Obviously can't name names. And they said, would that landlord short-term rent the property? The property was in Mayfair. I said, I don't know. Let me ask the question. It took me about a week to find out and talk to them about how a short-term rental would work, because you need, the legalities are different to an AST or a longer term tenancy. You have to provide towels, linens, shampoos, bath gel, and a few other bits and bobs.
Sorry, I've used the shampoos, but it's got me.
Yeah, you have to. You actually have to. Have you been to an Airbnb?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know. It does sound funny, but you do.
Okay.
So we had to prep the apartment, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we did the deal, and short-term rental fees are higher than long-term rental fees. Mm-hmm. So for a short-term rental, you can charge, for instance, 25%. Whereas a long-term rental deal, you can charge up to about 10%, 11%, not including management. Management could be more. Anyway, so we did that. That saved me. And then I was off, ran my own business for 8 months, to cut a long and boring story short, which did really well. And then, I was paying off that debt every month. I was driven by fear. And anxiety.
I was just going to say, do you think being in the debt and perhaps being at your lowest point, that gave you the drive and the hunger to go and call every person in your phone?
What? It's really funny you say that, because I sometimes think, because at the time I was living with my parents. Right. Yeah. Also, I owned a property. Okay. Which was having issues with the neighbours. So we were having a bit of a legal battle. It didn't go to court, but we had disputes internally in the freehold company. So I was paying a mortgage. Couldn't enjoy it though. Couldn't rent it. Couldn't sell it. Living with my parents. Paying the debt. And I had the debt. Yeah. So I had a lot of I think my outgoings at that time were about £4,000 a month. Wow. And I needed a PA. So I took on a PA as well. So I had to pay her salary every month. Anyway, without going off on too much of a tangent, I sometimes do think, if I didn't have that debt and that legal issue and that mortgage over my head, would I have worked as hard as I did? Because I would have had a cushy lifestyle. I would have had a mortgage. I wouldn't have had big outgoings. I would have been living at home with my parents. Having a Greek mum. She, tries to do everything for you. She doesn't want you to lift a finger. Yeah. So life was good. But in some ways, I kind of, everything happens for a reason. Yes. And I think some of my drive does come from that. I think so. So I had no choice.
Yeah. I get that. I resonate with that.
And although I do come from a middle class family in a nice area, and I went to private school before I got kicked out, and I still feel like I have that. I don't know. How do you call it?
Desire in your belly.
No, like that. I don't know what the word is.
What to say?
I was in that rut. Also, I couldn't speak to anybody about it. Yeah. Apart from one of my best friends, Charlie. Yeah. That's it. That's the only person who knew. And then I told another friend, Neil, who was an accountant and good with his money. So I was like, dude, I need your advice. I'm in this rut. I obviously didn't, no one helped me financially, but they gave me advice on what to do. And I put that card actually in the freezer. I put it in a cup of water, and then put that in the freezer. So if I ever wanted to use it.
The credit card?
Yeah, the credit card. Sorry, should have been more clear. Yeah. I put the credit card in a cup of water, and then that cup in the freezer, and then that froze, obviously, and you couldn't access the card. So if I ever wanted to use it or get tempted, I'd have to take it out and defrost it. Then by the time it defrosts, you think, actually, should I really be doing this?
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Let's call it.
So that was on the internet. I literally was Googling how to like get rid of a spending problem. Anyway, so I went through loads of shit.
Yeah.
And I that's when I developed really bad anxiety, really fucking bad anxiety. I couldn't get through a meeting or anything like this without having a panic attack in front of these people. It was awful.
Man, you sound like you've had. It was tough.
Yeah.
Really tough. It
Testament
was
to
tough.
you
A
to
testament
see
for you to get
Thank
through
you.
that.
now.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It was
again,
hard.
It's, similar to what I was saying. It's
Self-inflicted.
there's-
Self-inflicted. I hold my hands up. It was stupid.
yeah.
But we're all
Self-inflicted.
young. We've all been young. We've all done
Yeah,
silly
because
things.
it
But
literally
you
went
had-
on like booze and like
Yeah.
dates and
It's
But you had
silly.
your head
Showing
screwed
off.
on. You had
Showing
your head
off.
screwed on.
Yeah.
Your head in the right place. You had your fun, and now shit's got real. You can't
Yeah.
go down that path. You want bigger things for yourself, and there will be other people, 100%, watching this, listening to this, that have. We're just three normal guys.
Yeah.
We're not bigger or better than anyone else. We're just living the normal life struggles. And there'll be people that'll be like, yeah, I remember that. I've got a nice house now. I've got a nice car now. But yeah, cool. I started there.
Yeah.
One thing I have to say as well, when I first sat down with Daniel and he says, I want you to come work with me, I said to him, I can't. And he was like, why? What do you mean? And I was like, well, I'll show you. No, I think I said, well, I'm in, X amount of debt. I just was straight up with him.
Yeah.
So he became the third person I told. And he didn't believe me. I was like, I don't believe you. Bullshit. He tried to call me on bullshit. I was like, hang on a minute. Opened my Amex app, did the Face ID. And I was like, there you go. And he was like, you're an idiot. And he said, you have to sell all your shit. And he said, do you know why I'm a good advisor? And I said, no, why? And he goes, it's because I don't need to sell a property and I don't need an instruction. So not having high outgoings makes you a better advisor because you don't need the sale. You don't need to take on that instruction and you give the correct advice.
Yeah.
So if you're on the buy side, for instance, if you're retained to act for a buyer and you're representing them in the marketplace and they say, Alex, I like this property, but something's wrong with it or it's not going to perform well going forward. Like you said to your buyer, there's a development opposite and in 2 years' time it can be worth X. You might, if you're desperate for the deal, you might misadvise them on purpose to get the deal. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I've become a better agent because he's also mentored me and helped me
Yeah.
with my finances.
Yeah.
So it goes above and beyond just the agency.
Yeah. That's
But
good.
I think clients can see through that. I think they know when there's some young, hungry
clients,
agent that's in front of them that is just
especially
saying
our
anything
clients,
to get a sale.
they're like the top 1% in the world.
They can see
the
straight
most
through
successful
that.
people on the planet.
Exactly.
They've done super well for themselves.
Mm.
They can see straight through bullshit.
Yeah.
Straight through it.
Also, this listing we were just talking about before on Portland Place, I've said I will invest my own money. That shows to them that I, don't need to. If I needed to sell, I'd be like, these are the cost of the expenses for the marketing. Would you mind paying the invoice?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I've got this. I'll sort this out.
It's a
So
lovely.
you're getting a band, aren't you? Or a
Yeah,
string quartet.
so we're very fortunate. We've got the most amazing marketing team who are all staring at me right now. So no pressure.
Couldn't say anything bad.
Yeah.
But no, we're very fortunate. We've got an amazing marketing team and, I'm creative, but they are absolutely amazing. And they've come up with this idea, which essentially, so the property that we're selling has 3 huge principal reception rooms, all separate, and then a large principal bedroom. So we're going to get 4 musicians in with classical musical instruments, which is in keeping with the apartment. But we think that perhaps the buyer will renovate the apartment with a more modern twist. So the musicians are going to be playing a modern song.
That's cool.
And we're going to create a video around the musicians, but obviously the apartment is going to be there because it's being done in the apartment. And it's a subtle way of showcasing the beauty of the home, but focusing on the musicians. So clients loved it. I mean, to be honest, they didn't care what we were doing. They said, I trust you guys. I know how amazing you are, but that sounds amazing.
It's a super
And that's amazing too, to have that trust from a client.
Yeah, it's super valuable because you've got some clients that will sit and want to go through everything with a fine tooth comb. But also, the fact that showcase to them that I want to invest £5,000 of my own money shows that I'm confident that I'll get it sold. If I didn't think I could get it sold, why would I invest a penny?
Yeah.
So I think that as well was one of the first things that I spoke about when we went to pitch to try to win the business.
Shows how invested
I said,
you are.
I will invest my own money.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, well, if, because sometimes the seller won't get the sense that their agent believes in what they're selling.
Yes.
And they don't like that.
Did you pay back the payday loan?
Do you know, it's I want to pick up on something that Benji you said earlier, where our days are different now. When we were speaking about call outs and trying to book in 5 viewings a day, or whatever the KPI you had at the time or something. And the other biggest thing for me is we used to do deal. And now
Transactional.
you become transactional. You have to do 5 or 6 a month, Now we've become deal. And that's quite a hard thing when we're salespeople to flip in your mind.
Yeah.
And that's also been quite a bit of a mental thing to overcome, because I'm that type of person where when I get into bed that evening, I kind of think back in my day and I like to feel like I've done something proactive, or I've done that today and I've called him and I've booked in that and I've managed to figure out who might buy this, or something cool like Benji's doing on a listing. And sometimes if you have that day where you look back and you go, guys, I didn't actually, I was busy today, but I didn't really have something. It's hard in your own mind. You're like, I've wasted a day, and that can play into your mind sometimes. So that transition from going from like you said, a transactional high volume agent to, one every so often has taken a bit of time, and so that's been quite difficult for me, I'd say, at the start.
What was the first thing you did 3-4 months ago when you joined when you joined us, or when you made that jump to being a self-employed agent and running your own business? What was the first thing you did?
I mean, for me,
to get listings, or
of
whatever.
course. So for many agents, and probably for many other sectors of business, when you join a company, sometimes you have non-competes, so you can't deal in the areas that you've dealt with for a certain period of months. Which I had, so I'm still in that, and of course you have to adhere to that. So I'm kind of going into this new industry where all of my old clients, who I speak to regularly, are in the patches that I've dealt with.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my God, I can't even speak to them. So how am I going to go and find, what I'm going to do for the first 6 months? And I did a number of different things, really. Actually, I door knocked. I went and spoke to porters in different areas. I went and spoke to agents in different areas, and spoke to people that I know where I thought I could complement that agent with what we offer compared to what they offer, to try and help them as well. Say, look, I see you're selling this. This is what I think, what I could do. And actually, let's collab on it. And actually speaking to people that brought on a few listings. Again, the social side. The people that I was able to reach out on there, and also buyers, so the second deal that I've got under offer at the moment is working on behalf of a retained of a client who's I'm transacting to acquire a property for her.
Yeah.
And so again, everybody that we speak to now, whereas a buyer was like one of the 150 buyers that you've spoken to, we've got on your list, and you say, hey, I've got nothing today, but I'll keep you posted, blah, blah, blah. I spent time with her, and I went and met her, and we sat down for about 3 hours, and I told her about the market and the nuances within the marketplace. And she was struggling to find something, and she was a young, she's a fairly young lady, and she was having trouble where she almost thought agents were looking down at her. And I was like, can you afford this? Like, who are you? She'd lost out on a few properties to bidding wars and everything like that. She was struggling. And then by the end of the meeting, she was like, yeah, can you work on behalf of me? I think 8 weeks later or something like that, we had an offer accepted on something, which we're
That's
probably
going to be happening more and more.
a week. It has to,
Definitely.
because it is such a difficult market, especially if you're first time buyers or even some of the wealthiest people in the world transacting in London. There are so many nuances in the marketplace, defective leases, the price per square foot around one corner could be different to that. We know what's being built in certain areas, things that affect the marketplace. And if you don't have an advisor who can ultimately give you the best advice, you will make a mistake. And that mistake can be hundreds of thousands of pounds or time. So that was a really interesting thing. So I started off and I was just like, do you know what? I've got to go and find stuff. And it's kind of going back to that, sink or swim analogy of you walk out day one. There's not a 9 a.m. office where you're going to walk in and there's your new stock list of stuff to sell, Ollie. There's all your new applicants, go and call them all. It's you've got to go and find something to sell.
Yeah.
And not just that, you've also got to be in touch with your accountant.
The
You've got to save for tax.
The amount of hats you have
manage
to wear.
your own money.
Exactly.
Make sure you don't, because you're not getting income every month.
There's a whole list of things we need to...
We must be what? We're advisors, marketeers, tax accountants. You are HR. You've got to do all those bits, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got to set your own. You've got to have. You've got to be your own PA.
Your own manager.
Your own manager. You've got to pick yourself up when times are hard.
Whilst trying to be
and a dad.
Whilst trying to
fiance.
To be a dad, fiance,
son, friends.
Yeah, son, friends, and
football team or whatever thing you're
100%
part of outside.
Exactly. And it's a lot.
Well, one of the questions.
Who said that? Who said that?
One of the questions that someone asked was relating to.
Let's jump to the questions now.
Yeah, should we do questions?
Yeah. Unless do you have any more pains and gains you'd like?
I think
pains or gains you'd like to voice?
No, I think we've gone through.
Okay.
It'd be good to get some questions.
Yeah.
So what we did last time when we finished the first podcast, we asked people to ask us questions. We had a nice reaction, which we were expecting, but not as much as many as we got. So
and I think first of all as well, thank you to everyone that listened on the last podcast. Like we really appreciate you listening. It was great to get some really lovely comments back from
we're overwhelmed.
And people that we had
to
also people that we'd never spoken to.
Yeah.
And people just like reaching out of we had some lovely messages from people saying, oh my God, I love that. And it's so nice to hear from people that we haven't heard of, we don't kind of know on a personal note. So please reach out to us more. Like it's a lovely thing for us and we really love hearing your feedback.
Right. Let's jump into the questions.
Let's do it.
So at the Burning Monkey asks, where's your favorite location when it comes to viewing Can you not kick the table, please? Gosh. Sorry, guys. Where's your favorite location when it comes to viewing /selling property?
/
Question mark.
For me, it's going to be Regent's Park.
Ollie.
For me, it's going to be Regent's Park or Little Venice. Nice. I love the white stucco fronted, the volume. Regent's Park, Little Venice for me.
Alex.
Ollie, what do you think?
I was waiting for that.
For me, I mean, I'm a massive fan of Marylebone. I always have been. I love the area, I love the vibe, the different properties, the demographic of people. I love, we all love the high ceiling, Victorian Edwardian, conversions, period conversions. So I think Marylebone's probably one of my favorite area. Yeah, but I've got a few listings now as well on the Riverside. Mm-hmm. And I've done
the view on one of
honestly, the views, like I do viewings like specifically after like 5 p.m. because honestly, like when you walk into those apartments and you open up the curtains or you go onto the balcony and you see the views.
Mate, that one in Tower Hill is unbelievable.
Oh, like amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest flats I've seen.
But it's interesting what you just said about the time of when you show it, which I don't think some people will think of, that your apartment well that you're selling and that the view is best at a certain time.
Yes.
That perhaps if someone wants to view it at 12 o'clock, you say, I'm really sorry, I'm completely backed up then. I've got a free slot at 5 o'clock.
Definitely.
That's why our clients appoint us, because we think of those small things like that.
Definitely.
So it's interesting you said that.
That's a really good point, Benji, and a fantastic tip for people. But I only do viewings after or dusk, just as like the sun is setting, the pink sky goes down, and by the end of the viewing, it's dark. You can't beat it. That is why you buy those apartments. Yeah. So I've really kind of fallen in love with the Riverside a little bit as well recently.
Good.
But yours, Alex?
Mayfair.
Yeah.
Very cool.
No hesitation.
No hesitation. It's my favorite area. And I sold a property on South Audley Street next to a pub which just reopened called the Audley. That was one of my favorite sales.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
At Claudia.Bates asks, how do you find a work-life balance seeing as your work is on your phone?
That's a very good question.
Benji. I'm joking. Go on.
Well, maybe. I don't really get that joke, but anyway, that is a really good question. And I think it goes back to when we were talking about time management and everything like that. You have to make time for yourself. And whereas we all sit here and I think we all comfortably say we're workaholics, we pick up the phone at 9, 10, 1 a.m. if we have to, and we'll work into the evenings. You have to put time for your friends and family. And for me, Sundays are a big day for me. I always, want to take my little boy out in the afternoon. We always go and play football across. We've got a cricket club opposite us where we live. So we always, go play football. And he's a big Toy Story fan at the moment.
Do you live in 1 St John's Wood?
Don't.
Just going into Laws to play football.
Yeah. So it is difficult.
He just says he plays football in a cricket ground.
Yeah.
It's obviously not listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think making that you have to make time. You do have to make time, and that's very important.
Yeah,
very important.
So similar to me, I mean, in answer to the question, it's very hard to have a work-life balance because you can have, your time set out that's blocked out for family time, and then you've got a viewing at a £30 million home that the client is here in London for that period of time, and you've got to drop it. For me, my Zen time is Saturday from kind of 12 until 5 when I play football every Saturday. And then in the evening, I'll go out for dinner with Talia and friends. That's not movable because for me, that's, great for my mental health. It's great for my headspace. If someone wants to view a property on a Saturday, let's go at 7 a.m. anytime up until 12, and then Sunday, if you want to come on a Sunday, no problem. I've done viewings on Sundays before. The thing for me that's hard with the work-life balance is the holiday. When you're not here physically on the ground, because our job, don't get me wrong. It's
always the busiest when you're away.
Literally, it's as if it's the holiday curse. Your phone knows you go abroad, you touch down, and it's like activity. Times 10.
Can I ask you both a question? Because I mean, obviously, I've only done this 4 months now, and I haven't had a holiday yet. But do you feel guilty when you get on holiday?
Yes. Yeah.
I do. For not being on the ground and not being.
You almost feel like bad to tell your clients I'm going away.
Do you? Interesting.
Yes
I
and
do.
no. Yes and no. I think yes, as you rightly said, because they've
just appointed you to sell their property. Like, I'm just going to go away for a bit.
Yeah. Look, you have to deliver the message. In a sense, you're not going to take it on day one and then day two. You're saying just so you know, because you're sitting next to them at the table and
you don't just switch your phone off and ignore them.
No.
Oh
no.
Well, that's what you said to do.
No, absolutely not.
Just kidding.
But no, I don't feel guilty going away. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Our clients also run successful businesses and they go on holiday. It's not the norm to be working 52 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
They go on holiday. We need to go on holiday. If I take out a long weekend, I'm going on to different places. I've booked a surprise holiday for Talia. I'm just about to say where it is. She doesn't know where it is yet. Booked to go away for 4 nights. Yeah. Perfect.
I saw that in your diary.
Don't tell Talia.
Skegness is amazing at this time.
Well, by the time this comes out, she might know anyway.
No.
Oh no.
No.
Comes out next week, I think.
Yeah. So they get it.
Yeah. Blackpool is lovely.
Skegness.
They get it. They expect us to go away.
Yeah.
On the pier.
Yeah.
Should we do one more question?
No, we'll do a few more than one.
Yeah.
If you want.
A few more than one.
God, is that the time? I actually do.
Yes, hence
a few more than one. Let's get juicy.
Yeah, don't worry about my work-life balance. It's all good.
and just whilst Alex is looking, I think also while you're looking for a question, one of the biggest things is we have really supportive families behind us and partners, don't we? Fiancés, all of us fiancés.
Oh.
I can say I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Talia.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like a shout out to our 3.
We should do a triple date. I'm surprised we haven't done that yet. Why are you looking at me like that? Okay.
We should do. No, I think it's a really good idea.
What would you want to do?
Just go for dinner.
Oh yeah.
Dinner. What did dates? Yeah.
Nice.
Just a triple.
We should do. Just do it.
We should do it.
Maybe
probably a lot of common
them.
ground there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, loads. So what do you do? Oh no way.
What do you do?
Same.
Not our common ground.
For our other halves.
Oh, I see.
God, yeah. What do you do?
What a coincidence. We all work for DDR Global.
Well, no way. You're dating an estate agent as well. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So is Harry. Yeah, loads of common ground. Right. Anyway, so, yeah. Next question.
Yeah.
What happens, I think they mean valuer, when a surveyor devalues your listing and the buyer needs a mortgage? I don't think that makes sense.
I know. I understand the question. Effectively,
I think you know what she's trying to say.
She's had the buyer's obviously getting a mortgage. They have the lender will always appoint a surveyor to go in and value the property, and they've downvalued it, as we call it, effectively, don't they? Let's just say the property's worth 10 million, and they've
So you might have it under offer for 10 million.
yeah
and
put it
they've
under
valued
10
it
million,
at
they've
8
said
million or
it's
something.
8 million, yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately, going back to kind of Benji's point, really, when you had your deal, you as the agent now have to step up and show comparables and support the price of the original price that you agreed at 10 million. And by giving that advice to them, showing them, as you say, other sales in the road, maybe what the prices have been over the last 5 years, your predictions for the next 5 years. Your job as the agent is to step up and to get it, push on at the agreed price as it was originally.
Yeah, I mean, agree. And just to add on to that, we've just taken a listing on, we won't name names, we won't name addresses, and there are 2 agents on board already, and we're the 3rd agent that's coming on board. And we suggested, in all honesty, to have us as a sole agency, but the owner was worried to kick off one of the agents because they're relatively dominant in that neighborhood when it comes to valuers calling that agency for their opinion. And he was worried that if he kicked them off, that when we eventually have it under offer and they get the call saying, what do you think of this value? They'll poo-poo it. So, it's a difficult one. I haven't seen it too often, in truth, but you deal with it. It's a hurdle. If the buyer is super motivated, they'll bridge the gap.
Yeah.
If not, there might have to be a renegotiation of the price. But if you've got a committed buyer, committed seller, deal's done.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Good. Okay.
Good.
I think that brings us to the end of the podcast.
That's a wrap.
That's great.
Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah.
If you
Again,
gained anything from our Pains and Gains podcast, please like and share the show. Drop a comment, rate it 5 stars, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
and ask questions for episode
Specific
3.
questions.
Let's get them
Okay.
in.
I close it off. That's my line.
That's my line.
Back to the studio.
Back to the studio.
What's
I'm
your
just
closing
kidding.
remarks?
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Go on out. Finish it off.
What's the closing line?
Go on out.
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To the jingle.
No.
And also
Where'd you find
follow
us?
us. Yeah, where'd you
Ah.
find us? Where will I
Where'd you find us?
At Alex_Ivagora on Instagram.
You will find me on Instagram. Benji.wine at Benji.Weinberger.
W-I-N.
W-E-I-N. W-E-I-N.
And you'll find me at Oliver.
Ingles.
Ingles.
Thank you.
Not Ingles. It is just one.
Thank you.
Ingles.
Do you want to start that again?
Say it one more time.
At Oliver.Ingles.
Say it one more time.
There we go. Have a lovely weekend.